Streaming in the first quarter of Nick's game, you cur. It's not like you need to see my screen, Death Striker. Turn off the audio of the Knicks game. Because you don't need to listen to the announcers. They don't say anything useful. And then turn off the visual of my stream, and your problem is solved. You are preferable to these dog-ass commentators. I've noticed that I actually, like, appreciate sports way more if I turn off the commentators. Like, I actually focus on the game, and I'm like, alright, let me actually, like, look what kind of plays they're playing right now and all that stuff. It makes me appreciate the sports way more. The commentators are, like, a needless distraction. Especially some of the recent people they hire. I forgot some of the combos, but, like, there's one combo in one of the playoff series right now where there's, like, some female player and Dwayne Wade, and, like, they're just, like, glazing each other nonstop. I think it's worse that we have a lot of players becoming commentators now, especially, like, really good players, because then, like, the announcer has to always waste time being like, oh, remember that time when you were good at basketball 20 years ago? You know, it's annoying. It's like, Unc, we don't care. You ain't playing right now. What are you drawing fast today? I don't know. I'm getting fewer and fewer requests, even though my Patreon, the number of people on who's donating to my Patreon hasn't exactly gone down, but the number of people who are like want something specific that I actually want to draw is going down. So I don't really have anything on the table. I have like a few things that I plan on drawing, but right now I just want to kind of like practice a little bit. So if you guys have any ideas. What if you use a fatter brush with opacity so everything is blurry by default? See, I've actually been exploring that shit when I use, like, crayons and stuff like that. It has a very bad relationship with when you want to publish shit, though. I have some... see, this brush has a little bit of, not necessarily opacity, but it turns out being much more gray and stuff. Our eye tends to think that things look better if we're just using a bunch of grays instead of like hard blacks and stuff. But if you try and do that like in black and white ink-based publishing, I feel like that's kind of running away. Did you see the discourse between Japanese community and the Latam community about piracy? This was going on like about a month ago, right? I saw that some amount was going it. It's just a typical problem with the impossibility of Japan, a country that actually produces good stuff, understanding the feelings of basically every other country that only produces horrible dog shit, and being like, you should pay for our stuff, and then the other country being like, but we're poor, and everything that our country produces is crap, so we're gonna pirate. For your purposes, you can hit the silhouette quickly so you can hit the details with a nicer brush quicker, maybe. It's an idea. I have a specific marker I use that I made, just called draft marker, specifically for those purposes. Just like this. Everything needs to be large easy to understand shapes. Like you're drawing modern art. And then like you need to block out very large black and white areas, I think. Guys, I need to recommend me something that will give me a lot of likes and make me popular. What's the most zoomery zoom flavor of the month bullshit I can draw? You did good with notifying me about the chud doorbell chud. That got me a lot of likes and upvotes on Twitter. Toph from Avatar. I heard that there was a lot of like Toph being drawn as big booby content. Part of my problem is that I don't want to be like 8th in line. Big boob Toph thing was 2 weeks ago. Currently, we are rediscovering Korra is terrible again. Is Korra a lesbian? Korra is bi. Hentai told me that lesbians don't exist. They're just women waiting to have a big, ugly bastard penis inserted in them. Yandere Demon Girl from Japanese Buckshot Roulette LOL. Okay, everybody's saying that. Buckshot Roulette Demon Girl. It's Buckshot Roulette for Gooners. Got it. Drunken Goddess Reflux is the name. I want to see her puke. Derivative Work Guidelines. Why is there no artwork of her just puking everywhere? I feel like that should be the most obvious thing. You know how in a lot of anime, when they want to make the girls puke, they draw it like this? And then they like make it a fucking rainbow. You know what I say? Cowards. Cowards, that's what you are. Go all in. BB failing on a rainbow. Rainbow is the symbol of the libtard, so... They don't draw noses how they look. You expect them to draw a gross projectile vomit? Girls can only be truly cute when they are completely pathetic.
3, 2, 1, let's go insane. Get loose, right inside, side.
God damn, I hate English. We should just make it illegal to have any kind of English voice acting related to anime at any point. Like, I mistakenly opened up the Street Fighter 6 trailer for Ingrid the other day. And, of course, the default is the English voice acting because Capcom has decided they're an American company now. And it felt like my ears were coming off. Fucking disgusting, man. Demon Dice lives in Japan? Yeah, but the trailer has English in it. It has fucking English in it. I don't want to hear English.
Get loose, way inside, side. Live so stiff as suicide. Get loose,
English just doesn't go well with any kind of anime aesthetic. Whatever they're trying to do. The moment you translate it into English, it looks stupid on paper, on like page, but it sounds like 10 times worse. Anybody who watches anime dubbed, I don't know what the correct punishment is, but it should be very severe. I despise someone who watches anime dubbed more than somebody who's like, ew, anime is for nerds. That's disgusting. You're like a fucking nerd. I prefer that to someone who's like, I love anime. And I watch it dubbed. It's like, please just be gone. Be gone from my timeline. English only works in very specific settings, otherwise it's painful. Yeah. English is a serious language for serious content. It should only be used when you're berating Marine training recruits about how they're from Texas where there's only queers and steers. It is not meant for cute anime girls doing cute things. And it sounds utterly horrible when you have these white woman, I think I'm gonna puke just saying the word. These disgusting white women trying to be like, I can be an anime girl too! In fact, the only voice acting I support on this planet is Kugimiya Rie, making extremely high-pitched voices. They should be forced to listen to Aquafina. Don't give him ideas. Instead of Aquafina, we'll do the opposite. Enjoy your ear rape, chat. This is gonna be my Reservoir Dogs torture dance? Yes. We must all have emoto sounds playing in the background at all times. I remember I went to Akihabara and I was like going through different video game places, and basically most of them have like the anime Denpa soundtracks playing. This was like in 2010. I don't know if they're still behaving that way, but it started to make me physically nauseous after about like the third store I went to. Like a total of about 30 minutes of Denpa music in the background. It was basically too much for my brain to handle. Probably much rarer now. Akihabara really isn't the electric area that it used to be. It used to be an otaku's... It used to be like an actual place where you would actually buy real parts because you wanted to make a radio or something. Then it became an otaku anime place, and now it's just like prostitution, red light district. Well, it was originally like prostitution adjacent with like maid cafes and stuff. It's probably just like straight up prostitution at this point. Standing girls everywhere? Maybe they're just standing there waiting for, maybe they're all like snipers and they're assassins waiting for their target to approach. I don't know. Or, maybe they're like, undocumented construction workers waiting for someone to offer them a roofing job. How do we know that they're prostitutes? I don't think you should just assume things about girls just because they're standing on a street corner wearing thigh-high boots. They could be a high-powered attorney or something. How do you know? My school taught me a girl can be anything she wants to be, so surely these girls aren't prostitutes, but instead extremely well-trained professional accountants or something. How are you today? I'm doing okay. Nix 1519 LOL. I'm doing much less okay now that Death Striker is gonna have a nice day because the Knicks are gonna win. Guys, everybody, we need to use our spirit bomb powers. Raise your arms in the air to power the Hawks so that the Knicks can't go to the second round. Just kidding, it doesn't really matter. It's literally the fucking first round. You're not supposed to lose in the first round in the first place. The fact that we have, like, all these teams that are losing to the lower seeded teams in the first round says a lot about the parity in the NBA right now, actually. She deserves nice things. It would be pretty boring if the Knicks... I mean, I guess Knicks meltdowns are always entertaining, but ultimately it's more interesting when you have the major cities in LA and New York be good at sports, so... I just want to watch Jokic flip out again. Unfortunately, with Denver, Minnesota, we're kind of getting the worst of both worlds, where Denver is, like, not 100%, and they're probably going to lose in the next round, because Aaron Gordon's, like, legs are fucking shot. But then also Minnesota has lost their best players. So we don't get to have, like, a Denver meltdown either. It's just, like, the team that's slightly less injured is going to win. We're going to have a lot of NBA championships going forward until they change the playing style or reduce the number of games, where it's just, like, whichever team has the fewest number of, like, significant injuries to their main players is just going to win. Because, like, everybody's just fucking tearing their hamstrings or whatever, so... Actually, it's not really the hamstrings that they're telling. It's like, they have, like, hamstring strain, and then they keep on playing it, and then, like, a different part of their leg just gets torn in half. Silver needs to give these men a break before the ACLs explode. Everybody knows that there needs to be fewer games. But they can't implement it because that would mean the owners and the players make less money. And everybody's too fucking greedy, so... Quantity over quality, what could go wrong? And they're going to go even further down that road because they are thinking of adding more teams as well. It's pretty much confirmed that there's going to be, like, a teams added, probably in Vegas and Seattle, so... Definitely Vegas. I assume they're gonna take the Sonics back, bring the Sonics back, because everybody knows that the Seattle team was taken to Oklahoma City of all fucking places because of bullshit. So. Gambling via slot machines and cards isn't making the city money anymore. I mean, what is making the city money? I mean, it's kind of their own fault, right? They've made it so you can't win. It is making money. It's that just like everything else in our current capitalist system, they've entered the stage in which corporations and our richest 1%, 0.1% people no longer are interested in making more money by increasing their customer base by making the product better, and instead have entered the stage at which they just want to squeeze more and more a higher percentage of money out of the people who are willing to pay. So now Vegas, instead of being a place where like anybody can have fun and be deluded into thinking they can make some money by gambling, instead it's a place where the richest people go and they waste money. Or unless you're like a truly... See, they can't maintain the true hardcore gambling addicts as well, because you can gamble in like a lot of other places. So it just needs to be like a fun ground for the richest people who are willing to pay like $50,000 for a steak or whatever. Boomers are mostly the one on the slots. The thing is, like, if you want to do any number of other types of betting, you don't have to... You can just do it online, right? So... They just don't have the monopoly of legalized gambling that they used to. Which is a big, big deal, of course. Turns out having a monopoly is a really big deal. Gachas are too easily accessible and sexier than the blackjack dealers? I think the answer is to make blackjack dealers sexier. Remember recently in like 2010 when there was a bunch of dojins of Rio from that casino-themed pachinko, I think? I forgot what her name was. What was it? Rio Rainbow Grade or something? Japanese anime television series animated by Zebeck based on Koei Tecmo's Rio series of pachinko games. Surely you know what I'm talking about, fellow gacha coomers. See, Japan can't have actual casinos, so instead they created a pachinko series with the dealers that look like this on your pachinko machine. And this girl was so popular, she got her own fucking anime. I love a woman in uniform. We need more females that look like they're dressing in suits, but it's not a suit at all, and instead it's extremely revealing clothing. It's the only way to get me to go back to Vegas. I don't coom to gacha on principle. If you're not gonna coom to gacha, what are you gonna coom to? This isn't like back in the good old days when we had lots of fighting game dojins being released. It's all gacha nowadays. 69.22. Nice. Nice. I have no problems with masturbating to gacha content. I only have problems with paying for the gacha itself. These gacha sluts were put on this earth specifically so I could masturbate to them. The gooning is surely better if you earned it, right? By earned it, do you mean wasting a lot of money on a system in which I can't actually get the character I want to obtain because it's randomized? The answer would be no. The cooming is better if you earn it, but not in that format. I feel like the cooming is best when I'm fully invested in a series that I'm consuming seriously. And then one of the characters canonically gets NTR'd by an ugly bastard or something. That leads to excellent cooming content. But wasting money on a gacha does not constitute of that. I don't consider that to be earning anything. There are so many things in life that money can't buy, and earning your masturbation fantasy is one of them. It's not wasting, it's an investment. Imagine if you could, like, resell your wasted gacha JPEGs. I guess you kind of can if you sell your account. Except nobody really is gonna buy it. Or how much, like, can you actually get for your stupid fucking gacha account on the open market, I wonder? Sloppy Seconds Gacha Edition. The fact that my gacha waifu is a second-hand anime girl whose loose pussy has been stretched out by the gaping of the previous gacha owner makes her even cuter. Says no one. I'm curious, what's the highest someone paid for another account? It's probably gacha, but not like anime gacha slop. It's probably like something that's normie adjacent, like a Diablo Immortal piece of shit. Like normies when they get into the depraved gacha area, I think are even worse than like people who are already live in that realm, because the normies are like, they don't know what they're doing. So my guess would be like something from Diablo Immortal or some shit. Two players ejected for a fight. I love bouncy hockey. I'm glad they were kind of done with the era of like LeBron and like all the other superstars just being like friends with everybody, and there weren't rivalries. The Zoomies won't know what I'm talking about because LeBron on the Heat was 12 years ago, but there was a distinct period in the NBA in which all the players kind of got along. And there weren't really any rivalries. It just didn't seem like stakes were that high. And now we're clearly in a period in which everybody like legitimately is angry at each other. And everybody wants beef. And it's much more entertaining. Ultimately, if you're watching something and the point is for it to be competitive, the people participating have to care more than you, the audience. They can't just be like, I get paid either way, it's fine. Like in the previous Wolves and Nuggets game, when Jaden McDaniels dunked the ball after it was obvious that they were going to win, instead of running out the clock. And then Jokic and stuff were getting all pissy and shit, and it was like, just like LMAO. Cry more, bitch, don't lose. I know you made the joke a long time ago about LeBron being the main character of life, but before he died, I think Michael Jackson was the main character. You might be right. I mean, having a tragic death is also a good example of being main character. By those standards, LeBron might be a little too stable. He kind of had his main character arc in, like, he had the fall by going to Miami, and then, like, the prodigal son has returned to Cleveland. I mean, that arc is, like, such a traditional hero's journey, right? You start at your local teams, you're a local kid drafted by your local team, and then you leave, and everybody turns their back on you, and you become the villain for a brief period of time, and then you return. Everybody loves a comeback story. Michael has more of like a weird character arc. Reconciliation with the father. I just never cared about Michael Jackson that much. It took me into adulthood to realize that people cared about him a ton. I'm just not a very music conscious person. He didn't care about you in adulthood either. Good one. I like how we had a brief period in which we're like, we have to believe all victims as our default mode until we disliked Amber Heard. But even in the peak Me Too era, if people are like, you mean the Michael Jackson victims? You'd get like 70% of the population be like, no, not the Michael Jackson victims. We still love you, Michael. Those people are liars. Michael would never betray our trust. It seems like the public opinion nowadays is much more in the accusers who are full of shit camp in general. I'm glad we've changed our mind on all these incorrect conventional opinions. Michael was innocent. OJ was innocent. Diddy was innocent. The glove was proof enough. Anything that rhymes is awesome. If you can get your lawyer to be like, if the glove, if it does not fit, you must acquit. You're good to go. The only people who believed OJ was innocent were the jury on his trial, LOL. To be fair, he doesn't actually have to be innocent. There just has to be a reasonable amount of doubt. Whether there is a reasonable amount of doubt is kind of questionable, but who cares? I don't. Not me. I hope they catch the guy who did it someday. OJ dedicated his life to finding the real murderer of his wife and best friend. Speaking of totally innocent people, I was reading the New York Times the other day, and they were doing a special on the fact that Epstein was making a Islamic mosque on his private island, and he had like a huge hobby collecting priceless Islamic artifacts and tapestries and stuff from Saudi Arabia, straight from like Mecca. And I was just like, this guy was a really interesting human being, you have to admit. He's just the Jewish sex trafficker who's like, I just think all these Islamic artifacts are really neat, which is why I'm building a mosque on my sex island. He just wanted to see how much he could get away with. The answer was quite a lot. Imagine riding so hard for Israel just to simp for Saudis. If you're not paying attention, Israel and Saudis are buddies now. They have come to the conclusion that they both really, really like making money. And caring about stupid things like religions that your entire country is based on get in the way of the whole money-making process, so they have overcome the difference and silly little problems like a million displaced Palestinians being murdered and stuff like that, so that they can focus on what's truly important. Lots and lots of money. Money is the great unifier. Good thing that Christians aren't like that. Meanwhile, the Catholic Church looks like the fucking Emperor's Palace in Star Wars. Have any of you been to the Vatican? Shit is insane. It legitimately looks like a JRPG shot. I especially remember, like, this thing in the middle. Because it's like, what the fuck is this thing for? Like, everything on the walls and shit is completely decked out, but then they have, like, this weird-ass, like, pavilion on the inside with these weird fucking, like, twisting pillars and shit. I assume this is the location where the save point is at in the JRPG. You go into it and you get to the save point where, like, you can regenerate your health before you go deeper into the interior where the Pope, the last boss, waits. Camels must have a really easy time getting through the eye of a needle. The Catholic Church has specifically said that you can go to heaven as long as you give alms to the church, so they've worked around that whole Jesus claiming you have to give away all of your money shit. Who are you going to listen to? Jesus in the Bible? That loser? Or the Roman Catholic Church? And then we have Martin Luther, who's like, the church is wrong. We are Protestants now. Protestants, a few hundred years later, LMAO. Good thing we solved that whole, the Catholic Church not being too money-oriented with the whole Protestantism thing, right? I'd make my place look like that if I could too. I mean, I'd much rather have my place look kind of like a featureless concrete tomb. Like a giant dam or something. Maximalism is cool until you need to clean, LOL. I mean, it's not like I would have to clean. The nuns, that's the nuns' job, guys. We have women to do that work. Get thee to a nunnery, woman, so you can clean all the engraved areas of our extremely expensive artistic church. If I were sent to the nunnery for being a whore, I'd want to go to Santa Maria Novella. Unfortunately, I don't think you get to choose where you want to go as a nun. They have their entire, like, church hierarchy for the nuns, right? Just like you don't get to be like, I don't want to go to impoverished African country. If you're part of the Catholic Church, I don't think you get to choose where you want to go if you're a nun either, which sucks. Usually it was a male relative banishing you. When the fact that you date raped your cousin becomes too awkward in polite society, you have to send them to a nunnery or something. I assume that's how it goes. Or if you're Hamlet, you gaslight your girlfriend too hard, and then she goes legitimately insane when you yell at her that she has to go to a nunnery, and then you find her drowned in a river. Hamlet, when the gaslighting is too effective. You got sent if you couldn't get married off, or if you were a problem but you come from a rich family. Back when whoring yourself was considered to be unseemly instead of a feminist expression of female power or something, instead of creating an OnlyFans account, you would instead be sent to a nunnery. It was a different time. Instead of becoming an extremely profitable e-girl, you had to dedicate yourself to Jesus. Also, being a lesbian, which is a choice. Thank God that lesbian isn't around where she can hurt the rest of society. We have contained her in this secluded location where there's only other females. Our problem has been solved, guys. Thank God we had that whole homosexuality issue solved. Now, almost every English VTuber or e-girl has an OnlyFans. Crazy how that works. OnlyFans, super successful. They have cornered the whole... I have an online presence, and also I would like to produce porn of myself and make extra money market. Weren't lesbians condemned as witches? I think everybody was condemned as witches. The reasons why a woman would be a witch was one of like 3 or 4. Are you a witch? Said something I didn't like. Too sexy. People would accuse mercantile folk for being witches. It was basically, I think it was primarily number 3. It was basically like local politics sanctioned lynching, essentially, in which you could get a lot of nice shit if you just were like, they're a witch, and then you just took their shit. Sephiroth was smartish. He took out the healer. Not really. I just replace all the healing materia. He forgot that I can just equip the materia on any other character and still heal just fine. Honestly, Sephiroth wasn't really thinking about anything he was doing. He was just a bitter little mama's boy who got mind broken when he found out. Actually, I don't even remember what he found out. He found out that he was like cloned out of Genova cells or something. I can't even remember. And it mind broke him. I don't know. He had very low sanity stat, so... He was born from a Genova cell egg. Let me tell you, if I had learned that I was born out of some sort of alien life form cloning program, it wouldn't affect me mentally at all. It would at least explain the autism. It'd be like, no wonder I have Asperger's. Imagine learning you've been used by a tool by the government your entire life and your parents don't even see you as human. That's just standard work as a soldier, though. You don't need to be some sort of alien clone life form to find that the government is using you as a tool. That's basically literally every single person who enters the armed service. I just like to point out that the whole plot twist of Final Fantasy VII, that Cloud wasn't a soldier at all. He was a faceless grunt. That whole plot twist is actually like super weak because it clashes too much with the gameplay. Cloud being like, I'm a fucking fraud. I was never a soldier in the first place, after he has like murdered 10,000 Shinra enemies and has like 18,000 hit points and can do 10 trillion damage with Knights of the Round, is like, huh. It's not weak. Psychological insecurities don't have to be rational. Christ, do I have to fight with people who want to defend the Final Fantasy VII plot? I already spend every day defending the Final Fantasy VIII plot. Now I have to fight and like go do the opposite for the Final Fantasy VII plot. People still care about Final Fantasy in the year of our Lord Gaben 2026? No, they don't. Which is why Square is constantly posting extremely disappointing sales numbers. That's the problem, isn't it? I was watching the Tekken exhibition 1st to 10 match between Chikurin and Arslan Ash the other day. That was like before Daigo versus Mena. I was rewatching the replay of it, and it was just like some weird ass non-Tekken character named Clive who would fucking summon Ifrit. Fucking 10 games of that shit. It was just like, what the fuck? Jesus Christ, Bandai Namco, that isn't a Tekken character. That's a fucking Final Fantasy character. Nobody wants that to be the strongest character in the game. You should have learned your lesson with Tekken 7, in which you had like Akuma mains the entire lifespan of Tekken 7. Why are we allowing Final Fantasy characters to a Tekken game with swords? Never tell Vivi about Noctis in Tekken 7? I'm saying it's a bad trend to begin with. The only Tekken guest character that was a good idea was Gon in Tekken 3, Tiny Dinosaur. I'm surprised they don't have a fucking Hatsune Miku crossover at this point. Or a 2B crossover. I guess they already had that in Soul Calibur, which is already there, so... I can't even say there's no 2B crossover, because of course there is. Miku Miku Beam, imagine the range she would have when she slaps people with her leek. Collabs always peak? No, they're not. They used to be peak when I was a kid, and we didn't have many collabs. And the concept of, like, Master Chief and Mario being in the same game would fucking blow your mind. I think collabs were at their best around Marvel vs. Capcom 3 was probably when we got peak collaboration. And they've kind of been downhill since then. The novelty has really worn off. Especially if they're in a fighting game and the game designers have spent more time recreating the character's abilities in your game without really caring about character balance. I say this as someone who doesn't even play Tekken, but Chikarin literally played fucking Geese in Tekken 7, and now he's playing fucking Final Fantasy characters in Tekken 8. It's not a good place to be in. Grand Blue is fine. I'm not going to complain about gacha shit, though. Collabs are often boring and pandering. Yep. They're just a sideshow that's cool for a while, but they were cool because we didn't get any of them. I feel like the collabs is part of a larger problem in which companies didn't give otaku nerds what they wanted for like 50 years, and then they realized they could make a shit ton of money by giving otaku and nerds what they actually wanted, and then we had this huge, just absolute flood of content, whether all the Marvel content being made into movies, Star Wars getting bought by Disney, having crossovers and shit all the time. All of this stuff was when all these companies realized that, holy shit, nerds, they really have a lot of money and they're willing to spend it. And then they were like, we're just going to give everybody what they want. And as a result, they sacrificed a lot of artistic integrity. And it kind of hollowed out the core, the basis of what made all of these IPs important to people in the first place. Like all the stuff like, Kingdom Hearts and Sora and all this shit is just kind of like the frosting on the top of the cake. It's not the basis of anything. I shit on Tolkien a lot, but he kind of understood those things in ways that, modern capitalist companies don't really understand. It also sucked the fun out of crossover fanfic crack ships. My Sherlock Supernatural crossover yaoi 5,000 page homo lust story doesn't hit as hard anymore. Now that the crossovers have gone too mainstream, it's a real tragedy. I defend Tolkien from you, but I think the extended film trilogy is better than the books. I don't think only the most psychologically damaged of the Tolkienites would argue that the books are a good piece of entertainment fiction. They might be a good work of like art or like a study in the concepts of epic storytelling and stuff, but in terms of like being a page turner, they're just really bad. I don't even think the movies are that good. But Tolkien, I don't think Tolkien was a good entertainer at all. But when it comes to stuff like maintaining a core belief system and not fucking being a sellout, he was very good at that. Which is what we're talking about right now, is that all of these companies have basically sold out. Sometimes you can't actually give your audience what they want because it ends up like giving them too much empty calories. That's basically what all of this crossover shit is. It's empty calories. The audience needs to be able to... You need to force the audience to eat its veggies before you give them, like, the juicy calories stuff. We haven't done that yet. He was good at world building, story-wise mixed. Yeah, he was basically the idea guy who's like, I have a huge notebook of this amazing world. Except he was that, like, turned up to 11 because he, like, straight up created languages and shit. Usually those people who are like, I have a huge notebook of this amazing world, they never actually create their story. They're just like, I'm just the ideas guy. It's everybody else's job to make the video game, and you're like, no, please go away. I've been contacted by those people, by the way. He's like, I want you to do some art. Actually, the crazy thing was, he didn't even want me to do any art. He was like an ideas guy, but he's like, I want you to also be an ideas guy. And I'm just like, dog, the scenario that you've written here is probably like a 50-hour video game in the least. If you want me to be an ideas guy and you're going to give me money, sure. Being an ideas guy is extremely easy. Call back to me when you actually have a script, and I'll read your script and give you some advice if that's what you want, because that doesn't cost me any like time really. And of course, he never contacted me again. People who are like, and this is the main character, and this is the evil empire, and these are all the different vassal states of the evil empire, and they're gonna first go to this port city of blah 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 and blah blah blah. It's like, yeah, good fucking luck on making any of this into a video game. Turns out everyone's an ideas man? Not necessarily. There's all these Japanese artists who are only drawing people, and they're like, I don't want to think of anything, I just want to draw. That's why you have these collaborations between the writers and the artists. It's kind of actually crazy that the default mode in manga is that everybody is an ideas guy, and the artist, and the writer, and the inker, and everything. That's the default mode. Because in Western media, it's like you're 100% not expected to do any of that yourself. You're supposed to have a team for everything, so... Like, fucking Western cartoonists can't even do the pencils and their inking by the same person. Talk about division of labor, man. You literally need a separate person to fucking trace the art you've drawn. Everybody has a great video game idea, but proposed what is ostensibly a book. Gameplay is hard to think of. Also, nobody wants to do all the fucking programming. In general, these things are the most fun when you're just like thinking of ideas in your big notebook and being like, oh man, what an epic fantasy travel, you know? And when you actually have to get down to the making that shit into something that can be consumed, everybody gets tired very quick. I'm the crazy bastard who spent the most time doing game mechanic planning, LOL. And did you finish your game? I mean, if you even finish, like, anything, it's probably more than the vast majority of people who have, like, an epic game idea. They generally don't have anything to show for it. I did get all the mechanics working. Probably the thing that takes the most time in video game production is creating the art assets, right? Which is why you should just like make video games using colored blocks. Or go to Unreal Engine and buy a shit ton of stuff that already exists and do an asset flip. It's crazy how some Naughty Dog games have like unique assets in literally every stage. Every single room has like a shit ton of unique art assets. Like, and the art assets don't really repeat. They're like new things in every new area. Like, no wonder it takes them like 10 years to make a video game. You know what? You drive me insane that you see these games like Forspoken, Concord millions upon millions used to make it flop and flap like a dick in the wind, but an indie can make something called Ass Kicker 69 and it's the most passionate shit you ever played. I mean, the people who are making Forspoken and shit are getting paid either way, right? They don't have any reason to be passionate about anything they're making. It's just a paycheck. And the people who are directing those people to make the game, it's just a paycheck for them too. And then the top-down corporation wouldn't be making video games if they weren't trying to make money. None of them really care about it. They just want you to buy the thing. And you can really feel it. Hard to be enthusiastic when the sword of Damocles layoffs loom over your head. Yeah, maybe the practice of firing your entire team once they've made one video game to cut costs is not a good practice. Who would have thought? All this stupid shit that they don't do in any other industry, and they expect that it will have, like, good results. If you're working at, like, a steel factory, it's not like, well, we finished that order of steel ingots. Better fire our entire workforce. You know, you don't do that. But they do it, like, for literally every game in the video game industry. And then we wonder why quality isn't as good as it used to be. It's like, no shit. Nobody is on the same team or even in the same, you know, studio or the same publisher for more than, like, 2 years and stuff. As soon as the game goes gold, it's like, you know, fucking everything gets dissolved. I might sound like a dick, but life's gonna suck no matter what. Get over it. It has nothing to do with sucking or not. It reduces the quality of things that are being made in a very obvious way that every other industry knows that will happen. Because, like, of course it will happen if you don't allow your workforce to build up expertise. And now people aren't buying your Triple H slop anymore, shockingly. Who would have thought? Who could have seen that one coming? It's not even about workers' rights. It's just like being efficient. Having to train new people to do the same task again and again is just stupid. I'm just saying you have zero control over any of this, so your best option is to focus on something else. I actually have a lot of control over this in that I am not buying the video game. We all actually have a lot of control over it, and people are exerting that control by, in fact, not buying Forspoken. The video game industry, the publishers wish we didn't have any control over this. But unlike a lot of other industries which have successfully achieved monopoly status and can force us to extract money from our wallets, that is not the case in the video game industry yet. So we do not actually have to give them money. And that's what everyone is choosing to do. Not what I meant, but whatever. I mean, what did you mean? That I shouldn't complain about my hobby being destroyed by corporate capitalism in my stream? because I complain about it literally every stream. Well, we've had this conversation a million times, but that doesn't stop making it true. The core concept of, like, you can't control something, so you shouldn't complain about it is stupid. Because that's what the people making your life worse want you to do, is they don't want you to complain about it. Literally after they finished the game and had really good sales, yes, while they were also, Microsoft was also being like, we want to have more games with small scales by mid-sized companies instead of always going for blockbusters all the time. And then, like, they have a studio that just made Hi-Fi Rush right there in front of them. And then they're like, well, we're gonna dissolve the studio now. Mission accomplished. Microsoft has their head so far up their ass they can't even notice something that's directly in front of them. And I'm not someone who even likes Hi-Fi Rush. I'm saying they'll keep making garbage nonetheless. Meh. We say nothing's gonna change and people are gonna buy the slot forever, and that is true until it's no longer true. There's a lot of things that feel true until it's no longer true. And then we're like, but that's old news. Of course that happened. Like, shit changes. People thought that people would buy Ubi slop forever, but that's clearly not happening now, is it? The same will happen for shit like stuff that you think will never ever lose their revenue and never lose their customer base, like Call of Duty. Even that will happen eventually. Now, will they actually make something good out of that? Who knows? But just because we're dealing with an industry that's so large and has become so bloated that it takes them quite a long time to turn anything around doesn't necessarily mean they're not going to try and turn things around. Like, even the incredibly thick skulls of these corporate overlords, I can't imagine that they haven't noticed their whole pattern of Concords failing again and again. Microsoft probably hasn't noticed. They're legitimately retarded. But some of the other companies, I assume, have finally probably noticed at this point. It's just going to take them another 7 more years before they produce something. Square lost the RPG crown. I mean, what is the RPG crown at this point? Square hasn't had a crown in anything for quite a long time. Persona. Everyone's been waiting for Persona 7 for months, years now. Dragon Quest looks so fucking fun. Never played though. You have to be okay with a combination of slow gameplay a story that looks cheerful and happy, but is often depressing when you actually get into it. A lot of orchestral music. It's an acquired taste. I never truly enjoyed Dragon Quest. The combination of everything looks cheerful and happy, but if you actually get into the scenarios, a lot of shit is depressing. It's like the opposite of what I want. I want shit to look like serious and grimdark, but ultimately to have a happy ending. Dragon Quest is kind of the opposite of that. Aesthetically, it's happy, but in terms of like plot-wise and stuff, it's often depressing. I lost interest in Metaphor when I saw that they had nerfed the elf's ass. Typical Japanese media lure, cute exterior, brutally depressing interior. Like, Final Fantasy was always kind of the opposite, right? Like, all of the aesthetics of Final Fantasy 7 and 8 and stuff at the time. All this, like, brutal mechanic stuff. But ultimately, it's much more of a happy ending. You can't be serious, they nerfed the ass. There's before and after images of Hulkenberg's ass. See this. Clear roundness, shading. This is the trailer, and then the after. They made it as flat as a fucking board. With no cheeks. And I was just like, you know what? This game ain't for me. If I can't have elf ass in my game, I don't want that game at all. Big ass isn't something you'd see in Mod 60 fashion. Her ass is unrealistically flat, even by Japanese standards. If I look at a woman and I don't think that's a fat, round ass, if you're wearing this type of pants, then yeah, man, I'm not buying your game. I don't care. Buy Metaphor and Alice will restore asses. Eh. Persona 5 didn't really activate my neurons, honestly. It didn't really do it for me, so... Anna and Makoto were going cheek for cheek in Persona 5. Kind of. We could have done a little bit more ass. They just stood out because, like, everything was extremely flat. Makoto kind of had a wide hips and stuff, but if you look at it from a different angle, it wasn't insanely wide. We've just been conditioned too much by anime to expect underwhelming butts. Not adding the prosecutor lady as Phantom Thief will always be wasted potential. She could have been the greatest. Not getting Shimai Don, sister Donburi of her and Makoto, will always be a huge failure on Atlas's part. At least they added teacher dating. That's the only good thing I can say about Persona 5. Something that people have been asking for the last, like, 10 games. In any dating sim that takes place in a school, not only should the teacher be available for dating, they should be the fucking default option. It should be easier to date your teacher than any of your classmates. That's gonna be the one time we have that luxury. This is why we shouldn't try and rely on mainstream video games for our dating fantasies and just go straight to the eroge where they actually have strong beliefs. The eroge industry, while greatly diminished, is still alive and we should support it by buying mature MILF molestation train car 6. Kill the gym teacher preying on teens, then a teen dates a teacher who's cute. Why kill the gym teacher when instead you should have a gym teacher that looks like this? It's okay, it's a hot lady teacher, so it's not predatory. This is the average female gym teacher. And then average male gym teacher is gonna be like... I had a hot MILF gym teacher in 8th grade. Looks just like this, except the fangs. The Japanese hentai hot MILF gym teacher is either attacking her students or being tied up in the gym storage room and getting gang raped by like 20, 14-year-olds and being like, oh no! She's tied up next to the ball containers, yes. There's those, like, track signs, or the, what do you call the barricades that the hurdles. There's, like, the hurdles that you set up for track. She often gets tied to those. BB fantasy? It's not my fantasy. This is just, like, this is canonical setup. The most common things that happen to hentai gym teachers. It's extremely common trope. Most common sex locations in Japanese hentai school. 1. Toilet. Not necessarily in any order, so let's just use bullet points here. Toilet. Gym storage. What do you call in English the medical area? The nurse's office. Classroom. After school. Classroom. During class. Sex ed / hypno. Stairwell. Stairwell is actually pretty rare. I think it's because they don't want to draw the stairs. It's too much work. Also, basement is pretty rare. I don't think most Japanese schools have a good basement. It's just like a dark... Like, American rooms always have like a basement and a boiler room, but I don't actually see that very often. Principal's office with like all the leather chairs. Ugly bastard. I think it's just too much work to draw the stairwell. Pool. The locker, fine, pool plus lockers. They often don't have as much second sex in the lockers as you might think, though. I just like to point that out. I would say the, what's the English word for it? The roof. But the roof has to be empty for non-sex things. Sometimes they have sex on the roof, but the roof needs to be... The roof has a lot of other uses. So you can't be occupying the roof. Japanese school roof. Off limits, LOL. MC eats lunch alone until he gets interrupted by the girl. One v1 me, bro. Suicide chance. Don't worry. Onizuka is gonna jump off the side of the school and like grab you mid-air. Well, he's like, I'll fucking save someone from a suicide jump 3 times the first half of the manga. Yeah. Onizuka just constantly destroying the Krista.
My car! It's gone! My car! Burn my Krista!
Not the Krista! No!
Check it out! Uchiyamada's car's wrecked again!
Never mind.
Shit, is my internet shitting?
Like ancient wine, there ain't shit you can truly hide. You lose when inhibitions slide. You lose until your precious pride. You lose bottoms up open wide. We can't slow down your trust, yes. Sway side to side. You live so stiff to suicide. You lose age like ancient wine. There ain't shit you can truly hide. You lose when inhibitions slide.